Many years ago, in the vibrant village of Umueze, located in the beautiful eastern parts of Nigeria, lived a maiden named Adaeze. Adaeze was a very beautiful young lady, but Adaeze carried a burden too heavy that made her seem indifferent and question her existence, a crippling stutter that made it difficult for her to speak. From a young age, Adaeze struggled to find her voice in a world that seemed to move too fast for her to keep up. Her words became tangled in her throat, tripping over one another in a jumbled mess that left her feeling frustrated and isolated. Despite her efforts to overcome her stutter, Adaeze faced rejection and mockery from those around her, especially her mates, who will often mimic her and call her awful names. Any man who approached her will lose interest immediately she opens her mouth to speak. This made her isolate herself, not wanting to associate with anyone or have friends because no one even wanted to be friends with her. Her hopes and dreams fading like stars in the morning sky. But amidst the pain and loneliness that haunted her every step, Adaeze clung to the belief that someday someone would see past her disability and love her for who she truly was. And so she continued to dream of a future filled with love and happiness, even as the years passed by without anyone showing interest in her, talk more of asking for her hand in marriage. Then, one evening, Adaeze went to the stream to fetch water. On her way to the stream, she met a stranger, a handsome young man that seemed lost. He approached her and asked her for direction to the king's palace. He listened carefully and patiently as Adaeze spoke. Emeka stood by the stream, his gaze fixed on Adaeze as she filled her pots with water. The evening sun cast a warm glow on her face, highlighting her beauty. He listened intently as she spoke, her words flowing effortlessly despite her stutter. Instead of continuing on his journey, Emeka felt compelled to stay, to offer his assistance and to spend more time in Adaeze's presence. With a gentle smile, Emeka insisted on accompanying Adaeze home. Despite her protest, he understood the importance of courtesy and saw an opportunity to ensure her safety back home. Adaeze, initially surprised by his offer, eventually relented, touched by his kindness and sincerity. As they walked side by side, Emeka took the opportunity to introduce himself properly. "My name is Emeka from Umueze," he said, his voice calm and reassuring. Adaeze nodded in response, her eyes meeting his briefly before returning to the path ahead. There was something about Emeka's presence that put her at ease, a sense of comfort and security that she hadn't felt in a long time. They walked in comfortable silence for a while, the only sound being the soft rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze. Adaeze stole glances at Emeka from time to time, marveling at his kindness and generosity. She couldn't help but wonder what had prompted him to act so selflessly towards her, a mere stranger she had met by chance at the stream. As they neared Adaeze's home, Emeka broke the silence, his voice soft but earnest. I must confess, Adaeze, there is something about you that captivates me, he admitted. His eyes searched hers for any sign of reciprocation. Adaeze's heart fluttered at his words, her cheeks flushing with a mixture of surprise and pleasure. Before she could respond, they reached the entrance of her compound, and Adaeze hesitated, unsure of what to say. Emeka, sensing her uncertainty, reached out and gently took her hand in his touch sending a shiver down her spine. Thank you for allowing me to accompany you, Adaeze, he said softly, his gaze lingering on her face. Adaeze nodded, her voice catching in her throat as she struggled to find the right words. Emeka smiled warmly at her, his eyes filled with understanding. With a final squeeze on her hand, he bid her good night and turned to leave, his footsteps fading into the distance as he disappeared into the night. Alone once more, Adaeze couldn't help but replay their encounter in her mind, her heart filled with newfound sense of hope and possibility. She couldn't explain it, but there was something about Emeka that made her believe that anything was possible, that even she, with her stutter and her insecurities, was worthy of love and happiness. As she stepped into her home, Adaeze couldn't shake the feeling that her life was about to change in ways she had never imagined. And little did she know, Emeka felt the same way, his thoughts consumed by the captivating young woman he had met at the stream. Many days later, Emeka came back to see Adaeze, and they spent time together, telling stories and making jokes. And as they spent time together, Adaeze and Emeka grew closer, their bond deepening with each passing day. Emeka treated Adaeze with patience and respect, listening attentively as she struggled to find her words and offering words of encouragement when she stumbled. And for the first time, Adaeze allowed herself to believe that she was worthy of love regardless of her disability. Months later, Emeka told Adaeze of his intentions to make her his wife, and Adaeze accepted to marry him, their hearts overflowing with happiness and the thought of spending their lives together. Emeka met with Adaeze's father and told him his intentions to marry Adaeze, his daughter. His heart was full of joy, and without delay, they fixed a date for their marriage. On the night before their wedding day, as Adaeze laid down on her bed to sleep, she held her chest with her both hands and said within her, "O gods of my fathers, I wish you grant me my innermost desires to speak freely. Oh, I wish you grant this to me as a wedding gift, and I promise to use my voice to bring joy and hope to the people around me." In the morning, Adaeze awoke and found herself speaking freely. Her stutter had miraculously disappeared. Her words flowed freely from her lips, clear and smooth as a babbling brook. At first, Adaeze was filled with joy and wonder at her newfound ability to speak without hindrance, reveling in the freedom that had been denied to her for so long. The reason behind Adaeze's sudden recovery was whispered about in hushed tones throughout the village. Some said it was a divine miracle, a sign that the gods had blessed Adaeze's union with Emeka. Others speculated that it was the work of powerful herbalists from a distant land who had heard of Adaeze's plight and come to her aid in her hour of need. But regardless of the reason, Adaeze's transformation was nothing short of miraculous. But as word spread throughout the village of Adaeze's miraculous healing, a strange and unsettling change came over her. No longer content with the simple joys of life, Adaeze became proud and arrogant, flaunting her newfound eloquence and beauty in the faces of those who had once rejected her. When Emeka heard what happened and came to meet his bride-to-be with so much happiness in his heart, Adaeze didn't waste time to crush that excitement when she told him that she couldn't marry him anymore, believing that she was now too good for a man who had loved her in spite of her disability. Emeka left heartbroken and shattered, but unknown to Adaeze, Emeka was not just an ordinary man. He was a prince, heir to the throne of a neighboring kingdom, and his wealth far surpassed that of any other suitor who had come seeking Adaeze's hand. In time, Emeka found love and happiness with another woman, and they were married in a grand ceremony that was the talk of the land. Meanwhile, Adaeze's arrogance and pride only grew stronger, fueled by the adoration and attention she received from the men who now flocked to her side, for she enjoyed the feeling of being wanted by everyone. But just as suddenly as her tutor had disappeared, it returned. The gods, in their infinite wisdom, saw the true intentions of Adaeze's heart and realized that her request for a voice free from hindrance was not made with pure intentions. Adaeze's plea to the gods was not born out of genuine desire to communicate or connect with others, but rather out of a selfish desire for personal gain and status. When the gods granted Adaeze her request and bestowed upon her the gift of fluent speech, they did so with the hope that she would use this newfound ability to bring joy and positivity, to uplift others and foster deeper connections within her community. However, instead of embracing humility and gratitude for the miracle she had received, Adaeze allowed her ego to consume her, using her eloquence as a tool for arrogance and self-appraisal. The gods, seeing the negative impact of Adaeze's transformation on both herself and those around her, decided to revoke the gift they had bestowed upon her, leaving Adaeze once again struggling to find her voice in a world that seemed to move too fast for her to keep up. And that was when Adaeze realized she had failed to keep her promise and allowed pride and ego consume her. And as the suitors who had once flocked to her side now turned away in disgust, Adaeze realized the grave mistake she had made in rejecting Emeka's love. The reason for Adaeze's sudden relapse was a mystery to all who knew her. Some said it was punishment from the gods for her arrogance and pride. Others believed it was a simple twist of fate, a cruel twist of destiny that served as a harsh lesson in humility and gratitude. But regardless of the reason, Adaeze's downfall was swift and merciless. With tears streaming down her face, Adaeze sought out Emeka, begging for his forgiveness and confessing her love for him. But Emeka had already moved on, and though he still cared for Adaeze as a friend, his heart belonged to another. And so, Adaeze was left to face the consequences of her pride and arrogance, knowing that she had let true love slip through her fingers in pursuit of shallow desires. But through her pain and regret, Adaeze learned a valuable lesson, one that would stay with her for the rest of her days. That true beauty lies not in outward appearances, but in the depths of the heart. In the end, the God's decision to reclaim Adaeze's voice served as a reminder to all that true blessings are not to be taken for granted, and that only through humility and selflessness that one can truly find happiness and fulfillment. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this beautiful story. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, share and drop your comment. See you in my next story. Bye.